still in Xcode, but you're seeing a window there for Xcode, so you're seeing Canvas. I'm going to go back to File, say New Project, Single View App. Going to click Next. We're just going to call this one Light Project. Or you can just call it Light if you like. The only thing I'm going to change here, because I already still have Swift, and I still have Storyboard selected. If those are different, make sure you change those. Uncheck these boxes if they're checked. I'm going to click Next. Choose where I want to save this thing. Here's my Light project. I'm going to make it both for iPhone and iPad. I'm going to leave the portrait, landscape left, landscape right, all the way it is, so I'm not going to change anything there. You may need to go into your signing capabilities, make sure that you have something selected there for team. Okay, so now in the Navigator window, let me zoom this full screen again. In the Navigator window, I'm going to go to my main storyboard. And I'm just going to continue to leave this as iPhone 11. And we have our view controller navigator in our storyboard editor. And we can see the view controller, the first responder, and exit. So expand view controller. There's our view. I want to add one object at this point to our storyboard. So I'm going to bring up the library. Command Option L, and I'm going to add a button. I'm going to drag a button over. I'm going to get rid of the text in the button. There's going to be no text. My button shrinks down a little bit. That's okay. We're going to take our button and we're going to have it be the full size of our view. I'm going to cover the view with it. This huge, giant button. And what this button is going to do, it's going to turn our flashlight on and off. We don't want to worry or make the user worry about hitting the button. As long as they hit their screen, it's going to work. All right. That's really all I need to worry about as far as my storyboard at this point. I'm going to turn off the inspector panel, and I'm going to turn off my navigator panel. Actually, for now, I'm going to go ahead and close my objects. And what I want to do is add the view controller editor. So I'm going to come over to the far right, add an editor on the right. And I'm going to change what's in that editor by going to the breadcrumbs, finding my Light project to the left of main storyboard, and choose View Controller Swift. And then in my left storyboard, I'm going to click on View, or View Controller, I guess either way. And that'll cause it to show up in case it's scrolled over to the left or right or bottom. We're going to take our button. Actually, we're going to, yeah, because we're going to refer to our button in code as well as creating an action. So I'm going to create a outlet for my button first. Now you can either drag it from the button here, or you can come to your button here. Either way, but we're going to control drag over to our Swift file and go above the function. It's going to be an outlet. Notice the type is UI button. And I'm just going to call this BTN light button. Or you can do BTN on off. I think that would be a better name. Let's do BTN on off. I think in the instructions they had to call it just light button. You know, I'm using my Hungarian notation. So whatever, however you want to name it, it's up to you. Just whatever you name it here is how you refer to it when we get into the action. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click connect. Yeah, I'm just going to do a little blank line there. I'm going to add another variable above that. So let's come up here and we're going to create a variable var. The variable is going to be called light on. It's going to be of type Boolean. Got to capitalize the B. And I'm going to set it equal to true. I like to group all of my class level variables up here together at the top, as well as any class level constants. I tend to group all of my outlets together below that. Any starting functions, all of my actions, and then any functions that I will write that work with those actions will come after that. That's just how I organize my code. All right, so we want this button to do something when they touch it. So we're also going to add an action for it. Hold down the control key again. Oops. And this time I'm going to drag to below that function. We're going to create an action. And the name, in this case, we're just going to call it button pressed. Again, we're naming the action, not the button. It's going to be touch up inside. I'm going to change the type here to UI button and click connect. So there's my action. Now, I think the code they provided in the project is simply light on equals. I'm going to unwrap. Actually, I don't need to unwrap it. I can just say not light on. Light on's a Boolean. So all that's going to do is it's going to toggle that Boolean value to true or false. And we're going to use that true or false to decide whether we want to show white, meaning the light is on, or black, meaning it's off. And then we're going to do something a little bit modular here. Let's just say update. Let's update UI. That's going to be a method call, so I'm going to set a parentheses after that. Right now we're getting an unresolved identifier because we haven't told Swift what that is. After my right curly bracket, I'm going to add a function, func, that is called update UI. I'm not going to pass it any parameters. A blank set of parentheses. And then my left bracket, and it'll add my right bracket for me. And what we're going to do here is just change the background color of our view. So the view doesn't need to be named to be referenced. I can say view dot background color equals, and we're going to use a ternary statement here. I could use an if-else block. I could write that all out. I've gotten to the point where I like using ternary statements if I can, and I think that's how they do it in the book as well. So we want to see what the value of light on is. So here's our expression. Our Boolean expression is simply what's the value of light on? It's either true or false. Question mark, and our true value is going to be let's do UI color. Oops, I need to capitalize the I. We're going to change this in a little bit here. UI color dot, and there are named colors in here. I want it to be white. Otherwise, we'll do a colon. I want it to be black. UI color dot, oops, lowercase b, black. Didn't know right there. Oh, I guess it went away. Okay. So all that's happening when we're clicking the button is we're going to change light on from either true to false. We're going to do one more thing here, and that is in the the override function for view did load, after our view did load method, it says do any additional setup after loading the view. We're going to call update UI. We're going to call that method we just created. So since our UI is starting as true, when we call the update UI, it's going to change that to false. And when it updates, it's going to change it to false, and so it's going to be black. Then we press the button, it's going to change the light on to true, then call update UI, and it's going to turn it on to white. And now she'll toggle back and forth. Let's try it. So I'm going to run this on that iPad 11 emulator. I'm going to build it. Launching it. I'm going to go over and find my emulator over here. So it's still launching. So there's my flashlight. That looks really, really cool. Oh, wait, let me press it. White, black, white, on, off. That's the light project. Now in the instructions, I ask you to be able to change the light between white, blue, and red as an added option, as a bonus. And so I'm going to go back to my Xcode. I'm going to close my running of the project from the simulator. And we're going to bring up our library. So wait, everybody get it to work? Anybody not get it to work? All right, let's bring up the library panel. There we go. Okay. We're going to add a segmented control. I'm going to drag that up here. It's going to be on top of my button, but I want it a little below the top. So a segmented control is basically buttons linked together, and we can choose one, turn the others off. So you can choose one at a time. And by default, it has two buttons labeled first and second. Now, how do you think we're going to change those values and add another third button? I want these to be white, red, and blue. Where would I go? Well, I need to open up my utilities panel, go to the attributes inspector, and you'll see here, I'm looking at a segmented control. And then a little further down, you'll see the number of segments is listed as 2. I can up that to 3. That's how I get 3 segments. And I'm just going to drag this out a little bit. That should be pretty good. Okay, you can see there's a first, a second, and a blank one. And then just below that is where I can name each of these segments. So I choose the segment. The first one here is segment 0, which is labeled first. And I can change the title here to white. Then, actually, I should press return, so it makes you should see it show up white in our storyboard. Then I'm going to go to the second segment, segment 1, and change second. We'll make it red. Press the return key, we get red in our storyboard. And then the third one, which is blank, I'm going to make it blue. Press the return key, and we get blue. And I'm now done with my inspector panel. I'm going to hide that panel. And I want to create an outlet for my actually, I guess I don't really need an outlet for that. because I'm just creating an action, I can see what the segment is. So let's take our segment and do an option and add it between our previous action for the button and the function we wrote for UI update. So this is an action. I'm going to name this action change light color. My type is going to be a UI segmented control. The event here is value changed. We're changing one of the values as to which segment is selected. I'm going to say connect. And give a line for our code. And I'm going to put a blank line between it and the function below it. Now, I want to add another variable here. So I'm going to go up below our light on variable, and we're going to do a variable called my color. Capitalize the C, and it's going to be of a type UI color, and it's going to equal UI color dot white to start with. We're going to make that our default color. Then I'm going to go back down to my change light color function or event handler with that segmented control. And we're going to use a switch statement here. Switch. And what we're going to switch on is our value of sender, which is going to be the actual segmented control. And I want to get the selected segmented index. Okay, so the white is going to be index 0. We start counting with 0. The red is 1. The blue is 2. Add my left curly bracket. It'll do the right one for me. My first case is going to be 0. And so in Swift, we use case, 0, and a colon. And what I want to have happen here is change the value of my color equal to UI color dot white. Oops, dot white. And then I'm going to do a case 1. And I'm going to cheat here a little bit. I'm going to copy that statement, paste. I'm going to change white to red. And I'm going to cheat again a little bit more. I'm going to select the case and the code this time. And I'm going to paste. And we're going to change the case here to 2. And I'm going to change the color from red to blue. And then finally, we need a default. And I'll make this one my color equals UI color. This actually should never come up because we're never going to have another case besides 0, 1, or 2. But just in case, let's make it black. Swift, the switch in Swift does require a default option. After the right bracket ending my switch, I want to call that UI update method again. Or I'm sorry, update UI. Update UI method. Now, the problem we update UI, if the light's on, it's going to be white or black. It's off. We want to change that UI color white to be my color. So I'm going to change this to my color, which starts out as UI color.white. But the segmented controls can allow us to change it. So this is the process I do a lot of times when I'm developing apps, particularly if it's for myself. I'll sketch things out, have a storyboard, but as I'm designing or as I'm developing it, I might come up with an idea to make it better. So the idea to make this better is I used to have a photography dark room back in the days when I was doing some photography and we were using 35 millimeter film. And to have a red light would have been kind of handy on my phone if we had phones back then. So that's where I came to the idea for red. And I thought, well, blue light, you know, those of you who will understand this, are a little bit older, you go into Kmart, they have a blue light special. You got to find the person holding the blue light on their phone or something like that. So we can do all kinds of colors. You can add more segments here and do other colors if you want. Let's see if this actually worked. Again, I'm going to test it in the simulator. So we get our white and red. There's our red light. There's our blue light. Go back to white. I can turn it off. I can change it to red. Now I haven't pressed the button to turn the light on, so I can change the segmented control. Let's go to red, turn it on. It should be red light now. Yep, I just turned it off. I can go to blue. Yep, that works too. Or I can change it while it's on. That is the guided light project.
If you just jumped into this video, you can see all the videos from the iOS app development cohort playlist by clicking on the image in the lower right. And if you'd like to be alerted to future videos that I create, you can click my picture up in the top right and subscribe to the channel.